Hey everyone. Okay, so this is to do with exercise 8G, and in exercise 8G we're looking at nominal and effective interest rates. So there's a little bit of terminology that you need to get your head around, and you'll notice that that's highlighted in the notes that's on Compass for you. So compound interests are usually quoted as yearly rates. So you'll notice that it's often 4.8% per annum, which means per year. And this is what we call the nominal interest rate. So that's the first term you need to understand, nominal interest rates. So nominal interest rates are those that are quoted as the per annum rate. Now we know that sometimes we can have different compounding periods. For example, the nominal interest rate can be paid at different times. So it could be quarterly, it could be monthly, etc. And it's this different interest rate, so the breakup of the nominal rate, that we call the compounding period. So if it has a compounding period that is monthly, it means that it's compounded every month. And we also know that the more times interest is compounded, the more money that you're going to get. That's almost like having a higher per annum interest rate. If we compare an investment like we did yesterday that was being compounded yearly, and we compared that to one that was being compounded monthly. The one that was being compounded monthly, we ended up getting more money for it. And that's kind of like having a higher interest rate. And we call this interest rate, because this interest rate has a special name, this is the effective interest rate. Because of the compounding periods, the number of compounding periods, you effectively have a higher interest rate. And this interest rate is something that we can actually calculate. And that's what today's lesson is going to be based on. All right. To calculate effective interest rate, there's actually a really complicated formula, but take a deep breath. You don't need to use it, ever. You have functions on your calculator that are going to do this for you. If you press menu, and then you press the number 8, which is for finance, then you press 5, this is interest rate conversion, and then number 2, you'll see effective interest rates. And that's what you'll use when you need to calculate the effective interest rate. It's also really helpful if you need to compare different rates that different banks are offering. So if one bank is offering a particular rate, say compounded quarterly, and another bank's got a different rate and it's compounded monthly, and you want to know which one is the best deal, work out the effective interest rate. The one that's higher, if it's an investment, is the better option. If it's a loan, you want the one that's lower. Okay? So that's how effective interest rates are calculated. We're going to use the calculator because your calculator has a function to do it. Okay, so one of the first skills you need to have is to be able to move between nominal and compounded rates. So the first example that we're going to look at is if we have 4.85% per annum and we need to change that to monthly. Straight up, it's pretty simple. You do 4.85 and you divide it by 12 because there are 12 months in the year. If this was an example that we were talking about for quarterly, there are 4 quarters in a year, we would be dividing by 4. So the compounding rate is 0.4%. So that's kind of like you're getting 0.4% each month. Okay? And of course, we need to be able to go back the other way. So if you're given the monthly or the compounding rate and you're asked to find the nominal rate, and they'll use that word in the question, what is the nominal rate of this interest rate? You need to be able to convert it back to per annum. So again, you would go 0.54 multiplied by 12 because there are 12 months in the year, and you would find that the per annum rate is 6.48%. So those are pretty straightforward calculations to be able to move from the compounding period rate to the nominal rate, or back the other way. Now, as I said, effective interest is definitely something that we can calculate. And on your calculator, it's menu 852. And here's an example for you. Marissa has a $10,000 investment. She puts it into an account at 4.5% per annum, and that's compounding monthly. And we want to know what the effective rate is. So you go menu 852, and it will give you EFF and a bracket. So in the first part of the bracket, you put 4.5, so the percentage, the per annum rate. You put the comma, and then you put how many compounding periods. So this was compounding monthly, so we're going to put 12, and then you just hit enter, and it will tell you what the effective interest rate is. So effectively, whilst it says it's 4.5% per annum, because it's compounding monthly, that's effectively like a higher interest rate, and that interest rate is 4.59. So it's almost 1% higher because of the compounding periods. Now, 1% doesn't sound like a lot, but when it comes to money and we're talking about $10,000, getting an extra 1% can be a big difference. With loans, for example, 1% can be huge. If you take out $1 million loan, work it out on your calculator now. How much of a difference is 1%? So work out what 1% of $1 million is. It'll give you an idea of the fact that 1% can be a big difference. All right, guys, see you later.